help.
Right.
I cannot predict the future, but this recession is so expected, so predicted. Maybe it's coming. I don't know.
Peter Lynch is a legendary money manager, and when he talks, the market listens. He recently sat down with CNBC to give a rare interview and share his thoughts about investing in a challenging market during 2023. This video is sponsored by my subscribe button so I can buy a Lamborghini while I'm in my 20s.
So curious these days how you're thinking about the economy.
Well, I think people, they're investing in individual stocks. It's sad. They're careful when they buy a refrigerator or an airplane flight. They're careful with their money, and they'll hear about a stock on the bus, and they'll put $5,000 or $10,000 on it. They have no idea what they do. So you're really got to be careful. Look at the company. Look at the balance sheet. What is the reason the stock should be higher? The sucker's going up is not a good reason.
Instead of talking about his view of the economy, Lynch immediately jumps to his age-old advice that investors need to pay more attention to the companies they are investing in and what makes a good investment. This is sound advice regardless of what the economy is doing, and especially important during difficult periods in the markets.
Well, I think looking for something different, looking for something that's a good story. I mean, who would have guessed TJX, a local company, would have gone up 50-fold, or Stop and Shop would go up 10-fold, or Analog Devices, or NVIDIA. I couldn't pronounce NVIDIA. So you have to find a company that's either a turnaround or a company that's going to grow, like Panera or, Family Dollar stores. I'm not saying they're buys now, but that's what's made our, Sears is rolled over. So Kmart's rolled over, IBM slowed down. But we've had new companies come along. I mean, that's the nature. You have to be looking for new companies and look at the balance sheet. If you can add 5 and 5 and get reasonably close to 10, you should be able to look at a balance sheet and say, here's two depressed companies. They've gone from 50 to 3. One company's got $3 million in cash and no debt. One's got $3 million in debt, no cash. Which one are you going to buy? I mean, that's not too hard to do.
Next, Lynch describes two key ways investors can make money in the stock market. The first method is to find solid companies that are growing and to invest in them during the periods they exhibit this growth. The tricky part is to determine when this growth will cease. Companies rise and fall, and determining when their fortunes will turn is where the big money is made. Lynch also describes that investors can make money in turnaround stories, but once again it is difficult to determine a turnaround story from a company that is in a secular decline.
What do you think of the financial sector right now and what happened? We saw with First Republic, and I'd just like to get your insight there since you were so good at that sector.
We had a terrible financial crisis in 1991. I think almost every major bank in Texas went under. Bank of New England, one of the oldest banks in the country, went under. It's like, in 08, 09, the banks were doing these no-doc loans and second mortgages and home improvement loans, and people were buying boats with it. Now the banks are being much more careful. So we've gone through other crises. Some banks will go under. 400 went under after 08, 09. Now we have stress tests. I think the banking system has improved. There'll be some companies go under. That's the nature of it. It's nothing like, imagine 1980, 81, we had double-digit inflation, double-digit unemployment, and people were worried the Japanese were going to take over the world. I mean, we were hopeless. I mean, there's always something to worry about. I'd really, in my over 50 years of doing this, I think I'd be worried if there was, somebody didn't bring up something to worry about. That's the nature of the business.
Markets have paid close attention to the banking system recently with the failure of several U.S. banks and the collapse of Credit Suisse. Investors' fears faded, but now this week First Republic is starting to crumble as well after it released its latest earnings report. Lynch states that similar to other companies, banks can fail and investors should be aware of that. If I had to guess, I would say he is concerned about the banking system and is paying close attention. But it's not Lynch's style to panic, and he would probably encourage taking advantage of the recent market volatility to start looking at stocks that are on sale. Furthermore, Lynch constantly reiterates that there is always something to worry about. He has stated previously that investors that were constantly worried about risks missed some of the best periods of stock market performance.
Well, we've had 13 recessions since World War II, and we've had 13 recoveries. Maybe we're going to have one. If this is a recession, it's probably the most predicted one ever. I never know when we're going to go. I'd love to know the future. I think it would help. I'd be a better investor. I'd pay $5 extra for next year's Wall Street Journal. It would really help. Right. I cannot predict the future, but this recession is so expected, so predicted. Maybe it's coming. I don't know.
Finally, Lynch concludes the interview by talking about how the economy experiences recessions, but it always recovers. He also points out that this upcoming recession is perhaps the most telegraphed recession that the U.S. has faced. To be fair, markets have been entertaining the idea of recession since last year, but so far the economy has managed to avoid it. The U.S. is experiencing decades-high inflation, and the Federal Reserve's actions to tackle it have led to one of the quickest and most extreme cycles of monetary policy tightening in history. Coupled with the recent stress in the banking system, the setup for recession seems even more likely. Federal Reserve staff have also recently forecasted a mild recession as their base case. Despite all these factors, the labor market is still holding up and overall unemployment is near the lowest level in history. The economy is always difficult to predict, but I would say the risks are clearly pointed to the downside. Speaking of economics, Peter Lynch has said that economics is a complete waste of time. He is far more focused on assessing objective facts about individual companies rather than trying to forecast the economy at large. If you enjoyed this video and want more Peter Lynch content, we have curated some of the best speeches and interviews we could find of him in our Peter Lynch playlist that is appearing on your screen now. Thanks for watching.